right, I think we are ready to go.
Okay. That means I have to hit my little continue button. There we go. Okay. Hey, everybody. This is Tamara. I'm from Moogly, and I'm excited to be with you today to teach you how to make the Lily Sugar and Cream Crochet Market Bag. Now, to make the full-size market bag takes well over an hour. So today I'm going to be making this cute little guy right here that I whipped up the other day, which I can make in an hour. And it's got all the same features as the full-size bag. So just fewer repeats, but you'll get the idea and be able to make all the stitches. So if you want to make this tiny little guy, we'll be starting with a chain of 11 instead of the chain of 43 that's called for in the full-size bag. But if you want to make the full-sized one and just watch, come back and watch the recording later. It usually goes up on the Michael's YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. So you can come back and watch that later if you want to make the full-size bag along with the video. So to make this pattern, you need obviously the written pattern. Also, you'll need some Lily Sugar and Cream. Full-size bag calls for, I believe, 3 balls. Of course, this one's going to take just a little bit less than, well, quite a bit less than 1. And then you'll also need your hook. This pattern calls for a U.S., yes, U.S. 7 4.5 millimeter hook. I'm using my Susan Bates right here. Now, one thing I don't think it's listed on the pattern, no, it's not. But one thing I do recommend that you have handy besides a yarn needle and scissors and your usual tools are some stitch markers, because we need to plan out our handle placement almost at the end of the pattern. So it's a lot easier to do if you've got some stitch markers to help you out. If you don't have stitch markers, you can use paper clips or little scraps of yarn even, whatever you've got handy. So let's go ahead and go to the overhand camera. Here, I'll move this camera in. There we go. So you can see I've got my Lily Sugar and Cream here. I'm going to go ahead and pull the label off so we can get that going. And I've got my stitch markers ready right there, along with my needle and scissors as well. So let's go ahead and pull up some yarn. So to get started, like I say, the full-size pattern starts with a chain of 43, but I'm going to start with just a chain of 11. So I'm going to go ahead and make my slip knot. If you haven't made a slip knot before, we go in about 6 inches from the end of the yarn, make a loop with your yarn, pull that tail end behind the loop, and then we're going to reach through the loop to grab that little tail end and pull up. At the same time, we want to pull down on the other ends of the yarn here, and you can see that just closes it right on up. Then we can put our hook right in that loop and give a little tug there on our ends, and that'll make it about the same size as our hook. We don't want it to be super close. We want to have a little bit of room in there so you can make your stitches, but that right there is how to make your slip knot. So then we're going to go ahead and chain. I'm going to chain 11. If you want to chain 43 for the full-size bag, you can absolutely do that. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if you want to keep going, then you're on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to be working our first round by working a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then each stitch to the end of the chain. But then we're going to come around and work on the other side of the chain. So you've got a couple options here. You can choose to work into the back loop. You can choose to work under the back hump. You can choose to work under the top 2 loops. Wherever you like to work into a chain when you normally crochet is fine. For me, because of the way this bag is made, I find it a little bit easier to go into the back hump, which is the back loop right here, sort of that Loch Ness line of bumps there on the back of your chain, but you can go into it wherever you like. So we want to skip that one closest to our hook and go to the next one. We're just going to insert our hook right under that back bump there, and yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 to finish our single crochet. So then we're just going to continue to single crochet in each of those stitches to the end of the row. And if you're making the full-size bag, it's the same thing, just more of them, all the way till you get to that very first one you made. So since we're just, I'm having some depth perception issues tonight. Sorry about that. There we go. Do we have any questions right off the bat, Allie?
No questions here right now.
Okay, great. And if you guys want to go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from, we always love to see where everybody's here from. Let's see. Oop. There we go. That stitch just does not want to stay on the hook. Let's do that one more time. All right, I see New Jersey, a couple people from New Jersey and Brooklyn, New York. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I know it's dinner time. In Pittsburgh, in California, awesome. Still late afternoon. I'm in Iowa, so right in the middle of all of you. There we go. All right, I've got my single crochets made all the way to the end here, and there's that slip knot. But what we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to just continue working around. So we don't turn like we normally would when we're working in rows, and we aren't joining like when we work in rounds, not yet anyway. But we're going to basically go right back into that same last stitch, that last one we crocheted into. We're going to go into it again, but this time, let's pull that little tail back there so we can go into the opposite side of it. And this is one of those reasons I love working under that back hump for the first section, is because now it looks like I'm working into a regular single crochet stitch. I've got those 2 loops at the top. So we can do just right into the bottom of each of those stitches we just made. So now we are working in the round. We just didn't do it the usual way. There we are. Now this is a little bit smaller hook than I'm used to using with this yarn. So that means they want this to be a little bit tighter. So when you're making bags like this, often the instructions will call for a small hook because you just really want some nice tight stitches. So if you are using a different yarn, then you'll want to match your hook size to the yarn you are using. So we are almost at the end here. Let's go ahead and count our stitches just to be sure. Now we started out with a chain of 11, which means when we skipped the one closest to the hook, we ended up with 10 across and then 10 across the bottom. So that should give me a total of 20. If you were doing the full size bag, you would have a total of 84. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I know I am good there. So now what you might see happening here at the end, you see how it's kind of wanting to curl up and cup a little bit. This is the outside of the bag that we're working from. So we want to try and just kind of flip that right side out if you can. If you can't yet, it's not a big deal. We can do that after the next round. It just makes it a little bit easier. So to go ahead and finish off round 1, we're going to work a slip stitch in that very first stitch right there. But before we do that, there's something else I really like to do when I'm working in the round, and that is to put a stitch marker in the first and last stitch of each round. And the reason I do this is because when you're working in the round, it's really easy to mistake a slip knot, or excuse me, a slip stitch rather, for a stitch that you have to work into. And then you end up accidentally adding stitches. And that's a really common way that happens. So by having a stitch marker in the first and last stitch of each round, then I always know, oh, that little jog in between, that's the slip stitch. And I won't accidentally work in there. There we are. So there's our slip stitch, and we finished our first round. Now round 2, we're going to end up repeating a total of 7 times. So it's rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, all the same. They are chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. So we did that little chain 1, that's our turning chain. That lifts us up like a little ladder for the height of our stitches. And then we can go right back in that first marked stitch for our first single crochet. And I will move that stitch marker right on up to our new first stitch right there. I really like this style of stitch markers because they stay in my stitches really nicely. These are the Susan Bates crystalline ones, if you're interested in those as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and make a single crochet in each stitch around. And we want to go under both of those top 2 loops. So since I'm just single crocheting around, and most of you, the crocheters in here, I'm sure already know how to do that, are there any questions I can answer here while I finish this round and pull up some more yarn?
We have a very quiet group tonight.
Ah.
I did ask everybody what their favorite thing to use market bags is for.
Ah, excellent. I use them for, gosh, everything. Back when I used to take reusable bags before we started getting our groceries delivered all the time, I used to use them a fair bit for groceries. And if you work up, you can take one of these market bag patterns and work it up in, say, Aunt Lydia's thread. You can make some really nice produce bags too. You just want to keep those produce bags really light, of course, since they do add to the weight a little bit. Let's see. So we're just single crocheting on around. You can see here, it still wants to cup up, but with that second row on there now, it's a lot easier to flip that right side out. There we are. Now
There's
this oh, go ahead.
Oh, there is a question here.
Okay.
Is it incorrect to work in the back loops?
For this, it's not the way this pattern is written. It's so I don't want to say it's not correct because it's not what this pattern calls for. But if you work into the back loops only, you are going to get a little bit, you may end up with a little bit more stretch because you don't have those stitches anchored under two loops. So you may end up with a little bit more stretch in your bag. It's also, however, going to give you a lot more texture. So you can't, if you don't plan on carrying super heavy stuff, you might want to give it a try. There we are. So now I've made that last one in that stitch. So I've gone ahead and moved that stitch marker up. And then we join again with a slip stitch. So this was how we made round 2. And like I say, rounds all the way through, it would be end up being rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are all exactly the same. Chain 1 and single crochet all the way around. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that. You can see on our little one, I went ahead and stopped right there for those. Excuse me. Now I did see a question just pop up. What if you wanted to make it longer or wider? So if you wanted to make it longer, you can just add more rows. You could add more rows to the base here where it's solid. You could add more rows of the mesh. You could even add more rows at the top. Whatever makes you happy, whatever section you want to be taller, that part's easy. If you want to make it wider, for those who have crocheted before, this pattern, this mesh pattern is a multiple of 4. So basically, because we're going to be skipping 3 stitches and then working a single crochet, as long as you've got a multiple of 4 in your base here, then you can make it any size around. That's why I started with essentially 10 stitches so that we'd have 20 in our first row, because that's a multiple of 4. So you kind of have to think ahead and say, what am I going to have once I've worked all the way around that base? It's going to double the number of stitches because I'm going to work on both sides. And is that going to be divisible by 4? If it is, then you can use it to make this bag. So I hope that answered that. Okay, were there any other questions before I move on to the mesh section?
Just a question looking to clarify here. So all the rows should be 20 up through row 7.
Yes, unless you're making the full size bag. If you're making the full size bag, it's 80, it's 84. But yes, on our little sample here, we just want 20 stitches in every round until we get to the mesh. Perfect. Right there. We don't want to increase or decrease. And that's where those stitch markers can come in really handy, because you see that slip stitch right there? If you didn't know better, you might think very easily that that's another stitch we need to work into. So that is really nice right there. So the only thing I'm doing different for our little sample size bag here is that instead of starting with a chain of 43, I'm starting with a chain of 11. Other than that, I'm just following the written pattern and then, well, leaving off some rows too. Like I say, I'm not going to make it quite as tall because that would be a really oddly tall and skinny bag. I'm not sure what I would put in there. How do you finish the first row? Well, as I said, this will be recorded if you need to go back and watch it all from the beginning later. But we do a chain and then we crochet into one side of the chain and then we crochet into the other side of the chain. So for round 2, then we just chain 1 and crochet all the way around, repeating that however many times basically you want the size of your solid base of your bag to be. If you make those 6 rounds and you say, gosh, I wish that was a little bigger, go ahead and add a couple more rounds. It is your project. So let's go ahead and start the mesh section. So the mesh section first round starts with a chain 1. And then we single crochet right back in that same stitch. So once again, I want to go ahead and move that stitch marker up. There we go. And then I am going to make a chain of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we are going to miss or skip the next 3 single crochets. So we count out 1, 2, 3, and then in that 4th one, we're going to make another single crochet. Just like so. There we are. So when you see instructions, sometimes it's written as skip, sometimes it's written as miss. Same thing. means you're literally going to be jumping over those stitches and pretending they aren't even there. You just count them out and skip over them. So a lot of times when you're skipping stitches like that, you're going to have some chains, 1, 2, or 3, however many, that helps you kind of get over that area. This is a really common way to make mesh. You'll also see it sometimes in things like bag handles or purse handles because it creates a little opening there, or even buttonholes. So that is our repeat. We are going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, that one split the yarn a little bit. Let me try that again. 5. There we are. And then we skip the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and go into the next one. There we are. So you can see our mesh is starting to grow. So you're going to do this all the way around the bag. So when you've got your 84 stitches, let's see, what's 84? You'd have 21 of these little chain 5 loops on the full-sized bag. So we do the same thing as we come around the corner here. We just go 1, 2, 3, skip those, go into the next one. And it's that 1, 2, 3 skip and then single crochet in the next that makes this a multiple of 4. So we're just going to continue working our way around. You notice when I'm making chains, it's kind of the same thing as when I'm making really tall crochet stitches, taller obviously than a single crochet, things like double crochets or trebles. I really like to pinch that chain as I'm making it. I find it really helps me keep the tension on my yarn a little bit more even, and it makes my chains a little bit more even as well. So if that is something you're struggling with, if you're a beginner crocheter, that might be something you want to try. So I've got my chain of 5, like skip 1, 2, 3, and go right into the next one. Okay, let me do it again. And obviously, if you're making the full-size bag, you'll do it quite a few more times than on our little sample here. 2, 3, 4, 5. And when we get to the end here, which I already am because it's my little sample, there we are. You can see if we skip those 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, that puts us right back in that first one. But this uses a fun little trick. I really love this. I'm going to go ahead and move this stitch marker out of the way. We know we don't need that last stitch anymore. We're going to be skipping it. And I really like this, this method for mesh and things like this. Rather than chaining 5 for this very last one, we are instead going to only chain 2. So I pulled 3 of those out. So we've got our chain 2. And then we are going to double crochet. This time, because it is this first round, we are going to double crochet in that very first single crochet we made. So our first marked stitch there. And what this does, here, I'll finish that double crochet. This puts our hook right in the center of essentially that chain 5 space. Because if you think about it, a lot of times we're making a double crochet. The chain 3 is the turning chain. So it's kind of like a chain 2 and a chain 3. So let's put us right in the middle. So let's go ahead and do that again together, because that is kind of a nifty thing. When we get to the very end, instead of chaining 5 and joining to that first single crochet we made, what we might expect to do normally from working in the round, instead we chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we double crochet, which is a yarn over, insert our hook into that very first single crochet we made of the round. We've got our stitch marker right in it. Yarn over again, pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. You can see that it's landed. So our hook now is in the center of that mesh space. We've got all our other little spaces here. If we had joined down here, our hook would be down here. This puts our hook up in the middle of that, what's going to act as another chain 5 space. So even though it's a chain 2 and a double crochet, we're going to treat all this together as if it was another chain 5 space. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going ready for round 2. Now, round 2 of the mesh is, again, kind of like when we were making those rounds of single crochet. It's something we're going to repeat just over and over and over again. I did see somebody wants to see it one more time, so let's go ahead and do that again. We are at the end of the first round of mesh. We've got one more space to make here. Basically, like one more chain 5 loop, but this time, instead of doing the chain 5, we chain 2, 1, 2, then we yarn over, Go all the way over here to that very first single crochet we made at the beginning of this mesh row. Insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That's a double crochet, and it puts our hook right in the center of that space. So now we're at the top of that big loop of stitches, basically, rather than down at one end. So now we can go ahead and move the stitch marker out of the way too. We aren't going to need those again for a little while, because this part is more like you're going to be reading your stitches and just going around and around and around. So let's go ahead and start with mesh round 2. So we are going to start again with a chain of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we want to find that next chain 5 loop right there and put a single crochet right in the middle of it. You don't have to try and work into that center chain. You can just go right into the loop space altogether. So don't try and, finagle the hook in there. Just put the hook right into that chain 5 loop, yarn over and pull up your yarn. You can yarn over and pull through 2 to finish the single crochet. So now you can see what that looks like a little bit right there. We've got that first chain 5 loop for round 2. Then we do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come over here and find that next chain 5 loop. Just stick your hook right in the center there, yarn over and pull up your loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. There we are. Excuse me. So let's keep doing that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really take your time and pull your work apart and find that next chain 5 loop. You can follow those loops down and up. Let them guide you. And put our single crochet right in the center there. Let's see, we've got a couple more to go. I just want to keep track. For that last one, we'll have to use our special maneuver again. So there's 5. Find the next one and single crochet right in there. And then I know we're getting close. Yes, this is it. We're ready for our last loop here, our last chain 5 loop, mesh loop for round 2. But we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to double crochet, we're going to chain 2 first. And then we are going to double crochet right in the top of that previous double crochet, the one from the previous round. So we yarn over, put the hook right in the top of that double crochet, and make another double crochet. Of course, that pops us right back to the center of this little loop there. And now we've got our first 2 rounds of mesh made. Let me get that end tucked in a little bit out of the way here so it doesn't confuse things. There we are. You can go ahead and weave in your first end if you want to. I'm not going to right now for the sake of time, but there we go. Get centered. You can see we've got 2 rounds of mesh now. And we're going to keep making just like this round 2 we just did. We just want to repeat that until your bag, when it's laid flat, is basically about as long as you want it to be. Now, if you're following the written instructions, it should be about 12 inches tall. So you would measure it from here on up to here. And when you get to the end of that mesh, it should be about 12 inches tall. But like we talked about before, if you want to add more rows of that mesh, go ahead and make more rows. If you would prefer fewer, if you want something, a little shorter and squatter, don't add as many. You can really just add or subtract the rows there for whatever you want to use the bag for. So I'm going to go ahead and start another round of the mesh here so we can make it together before we move on to any other stuff. Were there any questions? I'm going to start again with my chain of 5. Were there any questions I could answer, Allie? Find that next one.
Now, let me take a look. If you have any questions that we haven't gotten to or we missed earlier on, feel free to drop them in the chat here.
Okay.
I see a really cute idea to make a bag for a bottle of wine, or even
absolutely.
make it for your cell phone.
Ooh, there you go. Yeah, you could absolutely make this to the size of a, base of a bottle of wine. If you know how to make flat circles, you could start off with a flat circle, add a couple rounds of single crochet, and then make the mesh. Whatever, you can really, it's a pretty flexible pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go.
And there is a question here. I'm just looking to confirm the multiple. Is it a multiple of 4 plus 1?
Nope, just a multiple of 4 is what you
Okay,
want.
great.
Because we're working in the round, we don't have those plus ones. Those are more typically, I should not always, but more typically when you're working in rows. When you're working in the round, you can usually kind of connect those multiples like we're doing here with our double crochet. That's a way of connecting it, so we don't need that plus number. And I did see a pop-up asking again if I could make the end of round 2 again. I absolutely will be, because it's going to be the same thing for the end of round 3. So I've got 5 more. Let's see, I know I'm getting close to it. There we are. So you just want to really take your time and look at it. If you find you are getting confused, sometimes, when you're a newer crocheter reading your work, especially with something like this, like a mesh or a lace, can be confusing. So if you wanted to, you could keep that using that stitch marker, and I would just go ahead and put it in the top of that double crochet. So that will always help you spot that when you're coming around, you're getting to that end and you have to do your chain 2 and double crochet after that. So here we go. This is it. We are at the end of round 3, which is exactly the same as round 2, and the next 20 or 30 or however many rounds you want to make. We've got our double crochet from the previous round right there. You can see that looks a little different than our chains. We've made chain 2. So now we're going to yarn over, insert our hook right in the top of that double crochet from the previous round. We can yarn over and pull up our loop, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. There we are. And that is the end of round 3. Okay. So I think, let's see, I'm looking at the time, it's 6:30. I think I might like to move on to the next round if you guys are ready for it. So if you have any questions about the mesh, throw them into the chat right now. I'm just going to show you here on the finished one. One thing I really like to do is lay my mesh and things like this out flat and sort of line up those little spaces. And that's just a really great way to kind of check your work and make sure, you want to make sure to kind of lay them out and straighten those meshes out a little bit, because before you work this top, they can be a little floppy and a little difficult to measure. So just take your time and really sort of spread that out so you can measure from the base on up till it's about 12 inches tall, or again, whatever size you'd like to make. I did see one other question pop up. I'm sorry, I didn't catch what it said. Allie, can you help me with that?
Yes, I can. Let me just.
Okay, sorry. I
No,
saw it
that's
flashed up and I was just
totally
like,
okay.
shoot. The class is 1 hour and it should be posted. You know what? I did see a question pop up also about, this might have been it. The class does get posted, on the
Yes,
Michael's YouTube
I
channel.
think that's it. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay.
So after it should be posted within 24 to 48 hours after the class is
Okay.
over.
All righty. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to what's basically labeled next round. So after you have finished making all your mesh rounds and you're ready to start making what's going to be the solid top of your bag here in your handle. Now, the way this is written in this round is genuinely, I find, somewhat confusing. So here's how we're going to do it, okay? We're going to do it just a little bit differently that I think is honestly a little bit simpler. What we're going to do is simply chain 1, and we're going to work 2 single crochets right around this double crochet right here, okay? You just go right in there and make 1 and then 2 single crochets. And we're working right around that double crochet as if it was more chain right there. So we've made 2 stitches there. So I want to go ahead and start using my stitch markers again. So I'm going to just put that stitch marker right in there. And then as I work my way around the rest of the bag, what I want to do is work a single crochet in the top of each single crochet. And then work 3 single crochets in the next chain 5 loop. So there's 1 and 2 and 3. There we are. So we're just like when we were working into those chain 5 loops before, when we were just making 1. Now we just go ahead and make 3. Then go right back into the next single crochet. So what we're doing here is we're really basically leveling out that top round. We want the top of our bag to become straight again. When we started with 84 stitches, we should end with 84 stitches. If you started with 20, you should end with 20. However many stitches you had when you were working in your rounds at the base of the bag is the same number of stitches you should end up with at the end of this round. So sometimes, and this is a common problem, here I'm going to go ahead and show you. I worked my 3 single crochets in this chain 5 loop, but they're all the way over here. If I just jump over there, I'm going to get a little bit of a wrinkle. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull those back out. And you really want to kind of get into that loop a little bit. So there's one. Maybe don't squish them next to each other. Take your time to sort of spread them out just a little bit. They'll all pull together in the next one. But for this round, it looks a little better if you take the time. Sort of spread them out through that loop just a little bit more. Then you can do the next single crochet. And just continue all the way around with 3 single crochets in each loop. And yes, this will get rid of that arch there at the end. Not completely in this round, but in the next few rounds, that'll help too. So there we go. I am almost halfway around with mine. For making the full-size bag, you'll need obviously quite a few more single crochets. So were there any other questions? I didn't see any pop up, but just in case I missed them, since we're just single crocheting around here.
Lena wants to know what the best yarn for making this bag is.
Well, it calls for Lily Sugar and Cream, and I really do believe that Lily Sugar and Cream is one of the best yarns out there for making things like market bags. It's readily available. It comes in, I don't even know how many colors, a whole bunch of colors, including ombres and stripes and textures. So you can, I would recommend it highly. I think Lily Sugar and Cream is a great yarn for it. It's a 100% cotton yarn, so it doesn't have a whole lot of stretch on its own, which is, handy. And it's like I say, it's just, I really like the feel of cotton yarn. When I was a beginner crocheter, I would say this is what I did probably the vast majority of my crocheting in, because it's so fun and easy to use. And like I say, and you can get it all kinds of places, and definitely at Michael's, of course. So here we've come all the way around here. You can see I've got my first marked stitch there. So since we've worked 3 single crochets in each chain 5 space, that's why I just went ahead and started with 2 there, so we can put 1 more right in this last section here. So we'll still have 3 in this section. And then we can just slip stitch to that very first one we made. I think that's a lot easier than trying to slip stitch to the next chain 5 loop and do a bunch of stuff. It's much simpler to simply work 2 single crochets around that double crochet, then work as directed till you get to the end. And then you can actually follow the final directions and just work 1 single crochet in that space that you now have your total of 3. There we are. So then we go ahead and, like I say, slip stitch to that very first stitch there. But before I miss it, I want to go ahead and put a stitch marker back in that last stitch. We're back to working in the round with these single crochets, and it would be very easy to end up working into that slip stitch again and counting it as a stitch. So that was all that was in that round. At this point, a lot of this pattern just says next round, next round, next round. So we are, if you have, go ahead and see all my little notes on it here where I highlighted to myself, but we are right about here on the pattern. This is our next round right here, right in that center column. So what we want to do here is we are basically going to be doing the same thing as we were doing down in our base. We chain 1 and single crochet in each step. Try that again, each stitch around. So when I work in that first one, I want to go ahead and pull that stitch marker back on up here. There we are. And then simply single crochet in each stitch around again. So we'll work our way around. And again, you want to have your same total number of stitches. On our sample, we should have 20. On the full-size bag, you should have 84. We don't want to increase or decrease, which is where those stitch markers come in really handy. Now, in the written instructions, there is just this next round. After this next round, you fasten off, and then we start adding the strap. So I'll be demonstrating that here. However, like I said, for everything else, if you want a thicker base, If you want a thicker top, feel free to go ahead and add more rows. I would definitely do both of these rows. I wouldn't eliminate one of these rows. You do want to firm up that mesh a bit before you add the straps. But otherwise, if you want, if you're making a great big bag, something to take to the beach in the summer, if you want to go ahead and add more rows up here before we add that strap row, you absolutely can. However, I will point out that after we work our straps, we work an edging around the straps that add a little bit more height up here as well. Alrighty, we are almost to that. There's our last marked stitch. So I'll go ahead and put that one in there. And then we can go ahead and get this one out of the way. And since this is our last stitch of the body of our bag here before we add our straps, we can go ahead and you have a choice here. You can slip stitch to that first stitch and then cut your yarn and weave in the ends. Or you can do it a little differently, which is how I'm going to demonstrate it for you right now. Now, somebody asked in the full-size bag, is the bottom flat? No, the bottom is going to always be it's going to be taller, but it's always going to be sort of folded like this. I guess how to describe it. It's flat if you mean this way, but it won't sit up. It won't sit up on its bottom like that. It is more of a flat, sort of like a tote bag, like a canvas tote bag where it's always going to lay flat. So what I'm going to do here to finish this round off, rather than joining with a slip stitch, so I want to show you a little trick that I really like to use when I'm working in the round. I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn. I'm going to leave a good 6 inches or so. There we are. We always want to leave a good 6 inches or so we can weave in our ends really well. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pull up on that loop like so. And this is the sort of finishing touch that really, I think, elevates your crochet. One of the things that always bothered me when I was learning to crochet was the little bump you get there when you do the slip stitch and finish off. You get that little knot bump, and this makes that go away. So now I've got that tail end of my yarn on my yarn needle. You can see right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the top 2 loops, but not of the first stitch, but the next stitch in. The reason I'm going to do this is because I'm going to be essentially sewing a fake stitch. It's going to look just like a crochet stitch. It sounds a lot harder than it is. Don't get scared. But we don't want to accidentally count it as a crochet stitch when we make our straps. And that's why I'm going to the second one, because it's going to essentially lay over the first one here. So I put my yarn needle, you can see here, right under those top 2 loops of the second stitch of the row. I'm going to go ahead and get this one out of the way. Then I'm going to pull the needle right through this top of that stitch, that end out of there. And now I'm just going to pull until it's about the size of the top of a crochet stitch. See that right there? Then I'm going to go right back in with my yarn needle. This is the stitch right here that this strand of yarn is coming out of. So I want to go right back down in that same space with my yarn needle and pull that through. And I'm just going to keep pulling until that loop I've just made is the same size as the other V's here at the top of my stitches. So from the top, it looks identical. And because we skipped that first one, you can see it's actually loose back here. Whoops, let me get that centered. It's actually loose back there. It's going to hide that. So now, because it is a little loose, I like to, at this point, go ahead and put my yarn needle under that one just to help hold the whole thing together. So now we don't have that little jog from that little knot. So of course, at this point, normally I would take my time and weave in my yarn really nicely here in the back. But since we're in a live class, I'm just going to go ahead and slide it under some stitches out of the way. There we are, and set that aside. And now what you need to do is we need to plan out our straps. So let me get that laid out nice and flat here. So on your full-size bag, obviously you've got a lot more stitches to work with. We are working with our, excuse me, our little mini guy here. So this is where we want to pull in our stitch markers again. And at this point, you're probably going to want to have 4. So again, if you don't have stitch markers, you can cut off some of your extra yarn, just make little bows, whatever you need to do. Because what we want to do is we want to figure out the placement of our stitches. So if I look at the written pattern, it says lay the bag on a flat surface. Like I say, take your time here. This is where you want to kind of straighten out, make sure the sides of your bottom are real flat, that it's not twisted. Crochet has a natural twist to it. So don't worry if you see a little twist to your crochet. No, that's normal, but try and take the time and take that out a little bit before we figure out our handles. Then what we're going to do is we're going to mark the center stitches on each side of our bag. So the center stitches here, and then the center stitches on the opposite side of our bag. Well, that's not very straight, is it? Let's try that. There we go. Now, on the full-size bag, you would be doing the center 12 stitches. Obviously, on our little bag here, I don't have that many stitches to work with, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and pick about 6. So at this point, right now, it's just eyeballing it. We want to kind of find those middle 2 and count out. It looks to me like these are going to be the center 6 stitches here on our little bags. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we are. And then this part's not in the instructions, but I do recommend it, that you go ahead and flip it over and find those matching stitches now on the opposite side. As long as you're doing all this counting out and laying flat, now is a good time to go ahead and mark those stitches. And you just want to make sure those are the ones opposite, because you want your strap handle to be even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what we want to do, I highly recommend you go ahead and take the time to check your work. So we've got our bag here. We know one side of the handle is going to go here, and one side of the handle is going to go here. But in order to check that those are totally even, go ahead and count the number of stitches in between those 2 handles. It should be the same. That will help you know if you've gone offset, well, if you need to scooch one of those sides down a stitch or 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in between these 2 handles on this side. So I should have, unless I messed up my stitch count somewhere, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in between on this side. So again, on the full-sized bag, that's going to be a lot more. If I took 5 minutes, I could do the math, but you're going to have a lot more stitches in between. But I do highly recommend that you go ahead and count those side stitches. That will really help you make sure that those straps are centered and that they match up from, on the front and the back. So now that it's all marked, we're ready to go ahead and make the first row of our strap. So we're going to take our yarn again here, find that end. And what we want to do is we want to join our yarn with a slip stitch to the first of these 12 stitches. So of course, in the written pattern, we've only marked out one of the handles. We went ahead and did the other handle at the same time, because I do think it's a little easier. So the first one of those. So if you're right-handed, you'll be starting in this one. If you're left-handed, you'll be starting in this one. Assuming you crochet left-handed, of course. So what I want to do is just insert my hook right in that first marked stitch, and then go ahead and get that one out of there. We won't be needing that one again for a little bit. And I'm going to yarn over. You can see I'm holding my yarn end here. I'm just holding it back a little bit, giving it some tension so I can pull that yarn up and through. Then I'm just going to make a chain 1 or a slip stitch, however you want to think about it, and give that yarn end a tug so that it is nice and tight there on your project. Alrighty. So then what we're going to do is chain 1 and single crochet until we get to that next marked stitch. And that includes that marked stitch, because remember we started in this marked stitch, so we want to single crochet in that last marked stitch there as well. Should be a total of 12 on your full-size bag. On our little sample, it would be a total of 6. I'm not going to bother marking this one because we're going to be working back and forth in these short little rows. I'm not going to be working in the round anymore, so I don't have to worry about finding those stitches again or accidentally working into the slip stitch. So now I've got that last marked one there. So I make a single crochet in there. Then you can leave it there if you want, or I'll go ahead and get this one out of the way for now. There we are. And that is it for row 1 of your strap. Again, on the full-size one, that would be 12 stitches. On our little sample here, we're just making 6. So before I move on to the second row, were there any questions I could answer on that first row, Allie?
No questions here. Wow, this is amazing, is what most of the comments have been. So
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Alrighty. Well, then let's go on to the second row. Now, in the full-size bag picture, you can see it you can see it a little bit depending on which picture you're looking at. But this is where we're at right now on our little mini. So we want to reduce. We want to come in a little bit for a skinnier handle. So we are going to be making some decreases here for our second row. So if you haven't made decreases before, I will go ahead and take this one a little bit slower. So we're working in rows. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. So our even numbered rows here are going to be kind of, if you will, from the inside of the bag, but we're just working back and forth to make our strap. So don't worry about that. So what we want to do for our second row here is we are going to make our first single crochet two together. So I'm going to insert my hook right in the top of that first stitch like I normally would, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then without yarning over again and or finishing that stitch, we're going to go ahead and put our hook right in the second stitch, yarn over and pull up our loop. Now we've got 3 loops on our hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. So we worked into 2 stitches, but when we look at the top of that, we can see we've just got that one little V. We have turned those 2 stitches into 1 stitch essentially. So then you're going to single crochet across until you get to those last 2 stitches. And then we're going to do it again because that is how we create that even shape. We want the ends, the sides of our rows to be parallel. So again, on your full-size bag, you're going to have a few more there in between, but on our little sample, we've just got 2 little single crochets there before we get to our last 2 stitches. And if you wanted to use stitch markers in the first and last stitch, if you're a beginner here, that's not a bad idea either. Again, I'm not going to right now, mostly for the sake of time. But we get to these last 2 stitches, and you go into the first one, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then the next one, insert your hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. When you've got 3 loops left on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 to decrease. And a little tip here, if you're having trouble when you're pulling through this many loops with your hook getting stuck on those loops, one little tip I like to give is once you've got it, your yarn hooked into the hook right there, point that hook down towards the rest of your work. And when you pull up on those loops with your hook hand, it's kind of hard to show because it's still, but I'm pulling up this way with my hook a little bit and pointing that hook down. You're a lot less likely to get caught because you've got that little bit of space there inside the bottom of those loops for that hook to pull through. So that is the end of row 2. Row 3 of the strap, very similar. We chain 1. Now we're just going to single crochet across. We want to have a row of single crochet without decreases in between our rows with decreases. So row 3 is simply single crochet in each stitch across. Then we come to our 4th row. This one's going to be just like row 2. I'm going to start with my chain 1 and turn, or turn and chain 1, however you like to do it. Then we're going to single crochet 2 together. So we go right back in that first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, go to the second stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3. Then you would single crochet across again to get those last 2 loops, or those last 2 stitches rather, which on our little sample were already there. So we're going to single crochet 2 together again. So pull up a loop from the first stitch, pull up a loop from the second stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 of those loops. Then we've got the 5th row, and we're going to repeat the 5th row a whole bunch of times. It's just like row 3. We chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch across. On our little sample guy here, that's only 2 stitches, but on your full-size bag, that would be a total of 8 stitches that you'd have left for these rows. So you just chain 1, turn, and single crochet in each stitch across. Now in the written pattern, let me refer to it here. They want you to repeat this row, just single crocheting across until the strap measures 18 inches, ending with a wrong side facing row. So let me make a couple more stitches in our little sample handle here. But I wanted to say that's what it calls for in the pattern. Again, 18 inches or 45.5 centimeters. But you can absolutely make that strap longer or shorter, whatever you like. Add more rows, don't make that many rows. You can make this strap just as long as you like. If you were making this, for instance, as if you wanted to wear it in the crossbody fashion, you'd probably want a much longer strap, and you would probably even want to try it on before you finished off making some of this length. So you can really play with the strap length and decide, what's best for you. You might want a variety for different purposes. So obviously this isn't 18 inches, but if I thought I'd hit my strap length here, I would start measuring there and just measure right along that strap there. Don't include the length of the bag or you're going to end up with a tiny little handle. You want to start measuring from the bottom of the strap up. So once you've got that strap to the length that you want it to be, or nearly the length you want it to be, then like I said, you need to make sure you're ending with a wrong side facing row. So what does that mean? Well, you can see here when I finished this row, the bag is in front of me, if you will. The bag is in front of the strap. I'm not sure how else to put that. we're working from the inside of the bag, that means we're on a wrong side row. This from the outside of the bag would be the right side, so this would be the wrong side. And that's where you want your last single crochet for your 18 inches or however long, that's the side you want that row to be on. Because for our next row, we want to be working from the outside of the bag. It's just going to work out better for our assembly. If you screw that part up, it's not the end of the world. There's a couple different ways we can sew that strap together, but that is what the instructions call for. So now we're ready for the next row. If we go to the written pattern here, you can see we've come all the way. Let me get that back down centered here. Right here, our next row. So right there was till it's about 18 inches and on a wrong side row. Now we're ready for the next row. So for this row, we're going to start with 2 single crochets in the first one. So now we're increasing. We did our decreases here to create this shape. In order to mirror that on the other side, we now need to increase. So we're going to work 2 single crochets right in that first stitch. And then single crochet all the way across until you get to that last stitch, which on our little sample, we're already there. And then you're going to work 2 single crochets right in that last stitch. So 1, and then just go right back in that same stitch and make a second one. The only limit for how many stitches you can make in a stitch is how many times you can fit your hook in there with all the yarn. So that is that first increase row. So then we want to mirror what we did at the beginning of the strap. So for the next row, we chain 1 and single crochet across. Remember, we had a row of single crochet in between those rows of decreases. So now we want a row of single crochet in between our rows of increases. There we are. All right, so then finally we chain 1, and now we work 2 single crochets in that first stitch again. So 1, try that again there. 1 and 2, and then single crochet across until you get to that last one. Now we've got a couple to work into. So there's 1 and 2. And then we've got that very last stitch. We just want to put 2 single crochets right in there. So since we started with a total of 6 on our little sample, this should bring us back to 6. If you started with the row of 12 for your handle for the full-size bag, it should bring you back to 12. So let's just double check. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we've got the same number of stitches there as we had at the beginning of our handle. So now what we want to do is our very final row here before we do our edging, and go ahead and chain 1. And now we're going to be joining this side of the bag, or excuse me, the side of the handle to this side of the bag. So this is where it's handy. We've already got these marked out. Otherwise we'd have to, do all that falderall now, and we'd run risk of pulling our stitches out. Now they're already marked for us. So I do want to get that little end there out of my way. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and pull this side of the strap right over to these marked stitches. So you can see we've got our tiny little sample strap right there. And then this part can be a little tricky. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. I'm just going to fix that chain 1. I didn't like the way it looked. There we are. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to slip stitch through these 12 stitches or 6 stitches, depending on your size, and these stitches at the same time to join these together. So don't worry too much about this twisting right this second. You do want to make sure it's not twisted this way before you start sewing it together, but as long as this part's laying flat, we're just going to bring it down here. I'm going to try and get this so it shows on camera here. I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right in that first marked stitch on the opposite side of our bag. Then I'm going to bring this handle right over here and find that first marked stitch and slip that onto my hook as well. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this stitch marker out of the way. We don't need it anymore, and it's going to just be in our way. I'm going to go ahead and give my yarn a tug, pull it back down there so it's, usual tension. Then we can yarn over, pull that hook through both of those stitches and through that first loop on your hook. You can take a minute. There we are. Getting started with that stuff sometimes is a little tricky. There we are. And then we're just going to continue to do that all the way across. So we find the next stitch on the bag. There we are. Find our handle, find the next stitch of the handle, slip that right on our hook. And we can yarn over, pull it through both of those stitches and right through that other loop. There we are. And that's how you join the strap to the other side of the bag. You're just going to continue working all the way across. So then when you get to the end, of course, you can cut your yarn and weave in your ends. And then the final touch, which I don't know if we're going to have time to get into, I'll do what I can, is the strap and upper edging. So the strap and upper edging, you're essentially just working into the sides of the strap and around that last round there to create a really nice even edging for your strap. So you can see here I've come to that last marked stitch. I'm going to go ahead and get that stitch marker out of the way now. So should be just one stitch left on our strap. Yep, there we are. So we want to slide that right over there. There we go. And yarn over and pull that through. Now I mentioned if you get to the end here and for some reason the slip stitching isn't working off or isn't working out, or you don't like it, you can always at the end of that strap just cut a longer length of yarn and use your yarn needle and sew those stitches to those marked stitches on the other side of the bag. So if you don't prefer the slip stitch method, you could use your yarn needle to literally just sew it right on. So that is another alternative. So, but I've got my slip stitching done. So I'm going to go ahead and break my yarn. And then I would go ahead and just pull that on up and weave it in at the end. So we've got just 3 minutes left. So I just want to show you guys real quick. Again, if you're left-handed, you'll want to start on this side of the strap. If you're right-handed, or, really you could do whatever side you want, to be honest. You're going to be crocheting around both of these. So whatever side works for you is fine. I actually like to go ahead and join in a little bit. So we're here along the side. We're going to be crocheting in each one of these stitches, so it doesn't really matter which one you start in. But I'm just going to join with a slip stitch like I did before. There we are. And then chain 1, and then single crochet in each stitch around. So I've got a couple stitches here. So there's 1 and there's 2, but this right here, this stitch is that first stitch the handle was worked into, so I'm not going to work into there. Instead, I'm just going to jump right here. I'm trying to pull this out a little bit so we can see. Right there is the handle. I'm just going to start crocheting right along the side of the handle. And you don't need a particular number of stitches here. And working into the sides of stitches can be a little tricky if you haven't done it before. So just go ahead and take your time. Ultimately, it's just a matter of what you think looks good. So if you like the way your stitches are looking as you work along the handle, then you're all good. If you don't like the way they're looking, then go ahead and pull them out and make them again. And you can just keep working on those. Like I say, there's not like a huge rule about how many number of stitches you have to have, especially for a project like this, but just keep working right along there. When you get here, let's try and hold this. It's just getting just big enough that it's getting hard to hold on camera. There we go. So as we work our way around the handle, we would come back down around that side, crochet in those stitches, and then you can go ahead and join to the first one. So that's how we do our straps edging. Whew, and with 1 minute left, I think that's probably where I ought to stop. So let's go ahead and go back to the other camera. I just saw a question pop up. If you know the crab stitch, you want to do the crab stitch, that would be a beautiful edging. You could absolutely do that. Consider using a different color of yarn for edging. You can do all kinds of really fun things. Like say Lily and Sugar Cream has some really great stripes and ombres. You can really have some fun personalizing this bag, size and color for sure. So thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Allie, was there anything we needed to do before we go? Any last questions?
I don't think so. I'm just dropping the link here in the chat again for those of you who are looking to watch the recording. It should be up in about 24 to 48 hours for those of you looking for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, everybody. I hope you have a great night.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.